Welcome to my show. My name is Karynn Weinstein. Welcome. Today I'm shooting a show with a town meeting with Joe Biden. I'll be watching the television as he talks, and maybe I could chime in when he is talking about a topic, and I could give our thoughts on what he is saying during this town meeting. It's with Joe Biden. My website is KarynForPresident.com. My email is KarynForPresident@gmail.com. The proper way to spell my name is Karynn. That's my first name. It's spelled like this, Karynn. If you have any checks or money orders you'd like to send, make it payable to Karynn Weinstein for President, LLC, P.O. Box 294, Shelton, Connecticut 06484. If you go on the website, check out my biography letter, and on the website you could see there's a button for credit cards. My YouTube channel is Karynn Weinstein. That's my presidential channel. So it's YouTube channel Karynn Weinstein. One more thing, on the day of November 3rd, on the ballot, you need to write my name on it. My name will not be on the ballot, but you have to write my name in, Karynn Weinstein for President and LLC, and hopefully I will get enough votes to become your next president. And here we are, town hall meeting with Joe Biden and a town hall meeting. And I thought maybe I would record a show showing Joe Biden on television and for the gathering for the meeting, town hall meeting, and I'll be there watching with all of you. I'll make some comments and things like that while he is speaking. Right now, as you can see, the coronavirus is worsening, and right now we're ranked number 1 as having the most deaths in one country, and we increased our number of people who have contracted the COVID-19 virus. So we should be going to the town hall meeting in a moment, but if you have any questions, any concerns, anything at all, you could send me a email, KarynForPresident@gmail.com, and I'll try to answer your questions. Don't forget my website. Website is KarynForPresident.com, and you'll be able to see what I'm referring to and want to do for you, for all the people of America.
The camera is robotically controlled, and Vice President Biden will join me momentarily from his home.
This is Anderson Cooper for CNN.
On the pandemic. Today, another milestone. According to CNN estimates, we topped 100,000 total cases in just the U.S. alone. The exact number as of this moment, 100,769. The most cases of any country in the world. This time last week, the number of cases were just over 18,000, at least 1,573 deaths as of today. Last week, there were 241. Today, President Trump signed an executive order authorizing the Secretary of
I like to
Defense
say a
and
prayer
Security
to all those who are working as nurses and doctors, risking their own lives to save another. That's the story of how us Americans are, and everybody around the globe knows. Everybody knows that they put their life in danger every day. Here is Joe Biden and Anderson Cooper for the town hall.
Just how is your life and Dr. Biden's life like today? You're staying at home like many of the rest of us.
Like everyone else, our governor has a stay-in-place order, so we're operating out of my home in Wilmington, Delaware. my day starts every morning when I have my medical team on the phone. We speak for anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour, and they give me a brief like I have here, laying charts and everything, and how many deaths, how much has been done, how much have we been able to get done, no equipment we can be able to get to people, etc. And then after that, Anderson, I do an equally long briefing with my economic team, a group of economists and folks who work with me in the White House, and we go over in detail what needs to be done, as well as what is actually being done, what the Congress passed, and what the Trump administration has done, has not done, or is slow to do.
And just personally, I know your son Bo's family lives very close to you.
Oh, yeah.
I too will have plenty of economists with me, both national and international.
I speak to all 5 of my grandkids, either on the phone or I text with them. And they're all over, but 2 of them, Bo's children, live a mile as the crow flies from our home, and they come walking through the woods. There's a path through the woods and through a neighborhood.
I stay in contact with my family as well. I have a nephew, a sister, a brother, and a younger brother. And I stay in touch with him daily, and I too also stay within the home, and I don't go out much at all.
Occasionally, Jill and I live not far at all. We border a school, a large school, and we occasionally walk over and walk around the track by ourselves over there and bring the dog along with us. But otherwise, I'm just doing the things like we're doing with you now, and trying to keep abreast, and trying to urge and, how can I say it, cajole the president into doing the things that should have been done or could be done faster. I also, Anderson, is speaking regularly with the governors of the country. I spoke with the governor of Washington State today, the governor of Michigan last night.
I too have spoken to, written to Governor Lamont. He's a Connecticut governor. I live in Connecticut.
What's happening on the ground for them. I spoke with the governor of Louisiana not long ago. I missed the call with him today, but my point is that trying to keep focused on what's happening on the ground.
So let's get to some questions, particularly about the administration's response thus far. President Trump has said that repeatedly he wants the country, or at least parts of the country, opened up, as he said, as early as Easter, which is just more than 2 weeks away. As seen in town hall last night in the coronavirus crisis, Dr. Anthony Fauci told Dr. Sanjay Gupta and I he thought that was aspirational. The vice president used the same word today to describe it, aspirational. I'm wondering what you think of the idea of opening up by Easter, packing churches, and how long do you expect?
I don't think we should open up the country at Easter to
based on
have the curve flatten out, plateau. You have to do that first, and then we'll cut back on the number of people who will be infected to a point where no more people are infected. As far as April, that's a little bit too soon, and I think right now the American people enjoy not having to go to work. Let them have their fun, and people out there, you will not have to work more than 30, 35 hours a week. No more 50, 60 hours a week to pay for your expenses at home and your medical insurance and all. And you only have to work at one job.
And so we have to deal, they're one and the same. You can't deal with the economic crisis until you deal with the healthcare crisis. And in the meantime, the Congress has acted, and they moved with a $2 trillion package on top of the one they've already passed. And it's about managing it, about getting that out to the people, getting that out in the communities, getting that distributed.
Well, just a few minutes ago, President Trump said that he's going to decide Monday or Tuesday on social distancing guidelines. He already indicated New York obviously would remain as it is. Bill Gates said to Sanjay and I last night that there should be basically that a lockdown has to be nationwide for it to actually be effective. It's got to be across the country for 4 to 6 to 10 weeks.
I was out of the house today. There were many people on the road, many people at the park where they walk dogs. So people are not listening at this time about staying home. A beautiful day today. Everyone wants to be out. And I think all the people are very happy that they have more
why would
time
we not
for their
err on the
families
side
and
of
loved
making
ones and
sure that
friends.
we are not going to have a repeat? What happens if, in fact, we don't lock down across the country? We leave other places open. We find out, because we haven't been able to test everybody, that there is an upsurge and there's a new wave of coronavirus, people acquiring coronavirus, and we're back in the same deal. Look, that's why the Congress went out and passed this legislation. We can make sure that people are not held totally harmless, but held harmless as much as they can be. We should be getting the money out to small businesses, so in fact they don't go under, and they can pay their rent, and they can keep people on the payroll even if they're not showing up. So you're able to make.
This is an extraordinary statement that I'd like to share with you. People,
for example, I talked to
98% of us, let's think about bartering one another and learning from each other, bartering. Let the money, in any essential needs we have, let's let billionaires pay for that. Just like the country's doing that with the 2.2 trillion amount of money to reach out to all the people, civilians in the United States. That's a good start, but we need to continue so that our government continues to give us money to live off of until we get to the new phase of a way of living.
Has anyone explained it to you yet? Now, in fairness to the administration, it just got passed. But I hope what they do is what we did in another circumstance, which was an economic crisis, when we had a $900 billion Recovery Act the President asked me to handle. And what we did, we had one place in the White House, in the Vice President's office. I put together an entire team. Any governor, mayor, anyone could contact immediately, know where it was going, know what the money would be, know how it would get there, etc. There has to be management here. That's really critical. It should be
I
right
think
now.
Democratic Congress is really stepping up really great. I think House Speaker Miss Nancy Pelosi took command and control to where that money is going to go, directly to us, average person. And in the past, when we did this, a stimulus, all the money went to the president, or not the president, but went out to the CEOs and administration of all the companies. It didn't reach out to the people, the ordinary person's paycheck or a donation of money for them. And all that money, without any guidelines, ended up in the hands of the people who run the corporations. And Nancy Pelosi worked very hard to make sure that doesn't happen to us again. We want to make sure all that money, 2.2 trillion, goes out to the people who need it most.
When I got sick on March 18th, I called around to all the urgent cares and emergency rooms and doctors that I knew, and I was told that I couldn't come in and get tested unless I had severe difficulty breathing. I felt like I was in a third world country without the ability to get tested. So I finally found an urgent care through the help of social media, and I was able to get tested, and 2 days later I had my results. If you were president, how would you increase the availability of tests?
Well, what I would have done in the beginning is that make it clear that we were going to need, all the way back in January, there was, the intelligence community indicated that this pandemic was on the horizon. I wrote an article back in January 17 saying we should be prepared now, and laid out the things I thought we should be doing then. Look, the only thing we know in these crises of pandemics,
what we need is more equipment for the swabs to take the test with. And if they're having a test where you can do it from the home, you do it yourself at no cost and send it in yourself to the corporation that could analyze the swab that you took, and many of the people could stay right at home and test themselves and send it out to the labs.
We're going to have some left over, so maybe we could make sure we get it precise.
I agree. The people should stay home as long as possible. Let them get tested at home. If the symptoms worsen, you can take your own temperature and measure it and document it, and just watch over your own health and your family's health. take your temperature
nationwide.
every
And that
day.
should have been right from the get-go a objective of the administration.
We need more testing places as well. Some place where people could go where they don't have to travel very far and they're not around other people. I like the way they're doing test sites and the people, having people stay in their car and be treated. And I think too, also, like Mr. Biden, to have more people be tested for the coronavirus, that they will have a better handle on how to
We spent a lot of time. I was not
use
part of
geography
our
to
administration
determine
spent a
where
lot
the
of time
hot spots are
working with
within the
the
towns
incoming
and
Trump
area
administration,
locations
laying out
in that state.
exactly
Where
what could
I
happen
tell the
in the
people
future
where to go to
pandemic
get
and that there
tested.
were likely
Many
not
more
unlikely
test sites
to
are
occur.
needed,
That,
and also
that it does not,
we need
pandemics
the
don't,
people to be safe.
you know,
If
get
you
stopped
stay
by
home,
walls being built.
then
They
there's chance
cross
you're
borders
going to
quickly and
cause
easily.
other people to be
And,
infected with the
and there were a lot that we
corona,
did do. We set up an office within the White House
COVID-19
directly
virus.
to stay focused on this in the president, in the White House, and to deal with pandemics. And the first thing this president did, maybe not the first, but very first, he eliminated the office, took it out of the White House. In addition to that, when we were talking about early on in this crisis, I said, among others, that, you know, you should get into China, get our experts there. We have the best in the world, get them in so we know what's actually happening. There was no effort to do that. He didn't put any pressure on Xi, I guess because of his trade deal, which wasn't much of a deal. And in addition to that, what happened was we had one person in country who was working CE, he pulled him out of the country. And so I just don't think he has taken this seriously from the outset. And now, anyway, I just don't think he's taken it seriously.
Let me ask you, if you become president, last night Bill Gates said that for several tens of billions of dollars, which is certainly a lot of money, but not a lot compared to the bailout that's just been passed, for several tens of billions of dollars, we scientists, the scientific community, could set up processes by which the amount of time it takes to bring out a new vaccine would be drastically reduced from 18 months to a year, that you'd have a much more robust system in place for the next pandemic. Is that something you would pledge to do as president?
If you saw me sitting watching you, you saw me going, yes, absolutely, positively. Let the scientists have sway. Let them move. Let's use supercomputing. Let's use the capacities that Bill Gates talked about. And it would be worth every single penny that was spent. I mean, it seemed to me it was a no-brainer. And the answer is yes, absolutely, positively.
All right, this is
I did see that there's lines outside the hospital waiting to go into the emergency room. If you have more testing places outside, maybe that'll take away the long lines at the hospital. Hospitals should be used in the emergency room for emergencies.
But the poor elderly, like my father, who has been in a Houston hospital for over a week, who was tested on March the 19th, cannot get their results in a timely manner. What is wrong with this picture?
We have not focused on dealing with what needs to be done from the outset. And that's when, you know, look, we talk about the ability to have tests where you get results very quickly.
What we could do is do testing if a person is in the emergency room in a different section, strictly for testing, let them be tested, let the people come in and get tested. And like I said, more areas, the hotspots,
we should be using
to do
the
testing.
Defense Production Act to do whatever we need to do, whether it's the rapidity with which testing has to take place, that you get a result, to actually getting the test done, to investing.
There should be more labs, more people, more labs in the state. And the lab could set up itself right there in the emergency room, let them do the, or the hospital, let them do the lab work right there at the hospital, or a walk-in clinic could set up, have people go there to get tested as well, and allow the person to come in and get evaluated
were gonna
And
do the
there's
right
another
thing,
way
but they
to test
didn't. They were gonna, I forget exactly how to
for
characterize
the
it. And I said, well, what
coronavirus
do you expect? I know
and
the
have the
chairman of that
labs
company.
right in the
Or when
facility
he talks to governors, he says,
test
be careful when you talk to that
the
governor,
tests.
they're not very good, or calls another governor a snake. This is not personal. It has nothing to do with you, Donald Trump. Nothing to do with you. Do your job. Stop personalizing everything.
He says
Stop
that
it.
governors.
I
He says
agree
that
with
governors
that.
should be appreciative. Is that
President
how
Trump
governors
should
supposed to
be
work?
more professional.
I didn't think that was how it's
Take
supposed
this
to work. I
seriously.
felt the federal government's
I don't
supposed to
think
do
what's
their job.
happening that we're
The
number
federal
one in
government
having
dealing with
the
a
number
federal
of
national problem.
people having
And look,
the virus,
one of the governors and I spoke
and
to,
we need
when they
we
called
need
and asked for
a
help
leader
in terms
who could
of
really
masks and
take
other
control.
things, the president
The
allegedly
governors
told him
need
that,
leadership
you know,
right now.
you
They need
take care of
so
yourself,
right
that's
now
not my
all the
responsibility.
governors
I
are
forget the
getting
exact
together
phrase he
to
used.
to
You
work
heard him
together
repeat it again,
to resolve
we're
this
not the
concern,
delivery
this
service, whatever the phrase
pandemic
he
that
used
we're
was. So
having
this
right now.
governor went out and got local manufacturers to agree to go ahead and, I think it was masks, make these masks. And they did. And then along comes the president and he outbids the state that went ahead and did what he told them to do, outbids them, and he takes the masks. I mean, there's supposed to be cooperation here. I mean, this has nothing to do with politics, and it really doesn't. It really doesn't.
People, I believe that now you can do bartering
For former Vice President.
and help each other out financially. It's okay, we can do that. God will allow it. And I want people to
Who stood up?
I want people to feel comfortable, not to get scared or upset because of the numbers. It is terrible that the United States is ranked one above China, Spain, and Italy, and we all know how severely hit they were hit. Italy's a smaller country. They live closer to one another, so it's more apt to receive and give the virus to all others that's around you who is diagnosed with the coronavirus. What else I would do is use the armed forces, the National Guard, to do work and help the doctors and nurses, which I think they already are. They're also used to build and convert places into hospital with beds in it, you know. And I think that's a good idea, is have more beds. The other thing I have a concern with is that in Washington State, they're building a hospital on a soccer field, and you know what? They have a fence around that building. Does that mean if you are shown that you're positive for this virus, are you going to be put inside that hospital with no contact with the outside world, not your family or anything, and they keep you in there with fence? I think this is a concern. I don't think any of the hospitals should have a fence around them, almost saying that you are going to stay in the hospital and not go outside. No one could come in or come out, so you won't be able to see your loved one anymore, unless they're able to move around and walk in, and they could meet their family members through the fence, talk to each other. But that scares me when they have a fence being built around the hospital they're building. That concerns me. And I'd like to know what the governor of that state thinks about that, why they have a fence around the hospital. Is it going to get that bad? Are they preparing for the worst and hoping for the best? We have many people that are in need of care. I think there should be instructions on how to take care of yourself other than washing your hands. I think that we should give, with the testing that we send to their homes, the procedure and what to do or what not to do, so that person doesn't infect other members of his family who's living with him. Also, President Trump, the people see what it's like not to work 50, 60 hours a week. I think people will be willing to stop working and not have to work 50, 60 hours a week. you're telling people that you have more people go to work, that's because you took that, what could have happened if you take away the food stamps and now they have to get another job to pay for the food, that's how you're increasing the number of population and having to work. So when you say we have increased the work capacity by 2%, maybe with 2%, who benefits from that? Who truly wants us to go back to work and work 50 hours a week? The billionaires. That's how they make money from us. And they do it from the billionaires. You work and they get a percentage because they're the CEOs and administrators of corporations. So they decide how much everyone gets, and they tend to be greedy, and they want the people to work so they can make more money from the work we do as common people.
Who, like countless other Americans, will suffer as a result of this pandemic. I work full-time for a small company that does not offer health benefits. My husband is a freelancer. We currently pay over $2,000 a month for health insurance for our family of 3. My question for you is that when our savings account inevitably runs out due to him not being able to work right now, what is it that we sacrifice? Do we sacrifice food, rent, or health care?
You should not have to sacrifice anything. Let me say that again. You should not have to sacrifice anything. Not just because it's the fair thing to be taking care of your entire family and every family in your circumstance, but because it's best for the whole country, the entire economy. It's not just doing a favor for any individual. Number one, your health care, you should not have to pay a penny for testing, and it should be available to you by now. We were promised it a while ago. It should be available for you to be tested and determine what needs to be done. Number two,
they're providing the testing procedures to the homes without no cost.
$600, the unemployment insurance you get, whether or not you were part of, you have been covered.
We're doing a transition from paying for things. Eventually, we'll get all our necessities, food will be given to us, clothing, our medical care, everything will be paid for, and no one will go hungry. And all you have to do is work 30 hours to 36 hours a week. 6-hour shifts is all will be needed. And the billionaires are getting nervous because they don't have that high income coming in. So let's us 98% start helping each other, work with each other to make our lives better. If you have to go back to work, go back to work. But right now, enjoy this time of staying home and relaxing and enjoying these nice, beautiful days that we've been having. We don't, people, in my candidacy, in my direction, my leadership, you won't have to work overtime. You won't have to work another job to get these needs, which I just described to you, to receive that. Everyone gets that, receives those items, and we're not going to have to work. I will make sure you don't have to work more than 30 hours a week, only if you want to. And I'll explain later how much we could do for the people so you don't have to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week. We're going to slow everything down. Everyone's going to become relaxed and comfortable. We're going to live comfortably. And we're going to have more fun. We're going to have a lot more fun, a lot more time to spend with the family. You could take time off on a Friday afternoon and be with your son and go horseback riding, or do some farming, or go get additional education, teachings. It's going to be my presidency will provide the necessities, and you don't have to work a lot of hours to get those necessities, which I just described. Food, clothing, a place to call home, and not having to pay medical bills. And it comes from us, the 98%. Soon, the billionaires will not have a say, because they're 2% of the country. We are the 98%. So I think the billionaires should start putting money into the system as well to make our lives much more comfortable. No one is above us. should be above us because of the having more money than us. We don't have to look up to the billionaires and say, I wish I could live with a life like they do. In my presidency, you will live quite comfortably in our country. And I'll explain to you that at a later time.
This next question comes from Angela Campbell, a teacher and a union leader who lives in Middle River, Maryland. This is the question.
The current COVID-19 worldwide pandemic has laid bare the issues of so many workers in our economy that do not have a living wage or basic protections such as paid sick leave, but are so essential that they report to work when it's deemed unsafe for everyone else to do so. If elected as our next president, what dollar amount will you set as our new national living wage, and what will you do to ensure that every worker has paid sick leave?
Well, number one, I would assure every worker had paid sick leave, period, and across the board. And it should be up to 14 weeks paid sick leave. And number one. Number two, there should be child care made available as well for people who in fact are going to find themselves in a position of needing help. Number three, the national minimum wage should be $15, but that's not nearly enough. What we should be doing is making sure that we invest the kind of money that is going to be needed as we rebuild the economy into dealing with for example, imagining our infrastructure in this country. At the same time, we can be dealing with the lack of wage availability, a decent wage, and dealing with global warming. And we can do it by, I have a program to invest $1 trillion in both transportation and infrastructure. We can do that, provide good paying jobs for people who can make $35, $40 an hour and benefits. And thirdly, we should make sure that we in fact make unions easier to unionize and take on those companies that spend about $1 billion a year now trying to prevent people from being able to unionize and taking actions that prevents them from being able to do that. That's not directly related to the virus, but it's related to a living wage. It's related to people being able to compete. And it's related to people being able to make a decent wage where they can raise a family.
This next question is from Amy DeRea. She's a
In
clinical psychologist.
in my presidency, no one's going to have to compete with other person or country.
That was a wise move. But it's
We're
increasing
going
rates
to
of
join
anxiety,
together,
depression,
work
and other
together
mental health
for the
problems,
same cause.
and may have a negative
We'll
effect
help
on
each other.
people's
For example,
relationships.
you have home, if you don't
How
have
will you
money,
enforce mental health
you have your
parity
child
laws
at a
to ensure
daycare
continued
center,
mental health
why don't you
care
go in and
services?
help the woman who provides such service to clean the rooms and help her clean the house. And these are the things like bartering that we could do for these people who do daycare and watch over your child. We all want the child to be in a nice, clean facility.
One of them talked about the pressure on them and mental health issues that dealing with what you talked about, the separation, the economic anxiety, the physical fear of going into the operating room, or the physical fear of pulling someone out of a burning car that in fact may also have the virus, etc. And so first of all, we have to deal with the stigma. There is no distinction between a mental health problem and a physical health problem. They are both health problems, and there should be absolute parity. Insurance companies should have to cover both equally, number one.
Yes, I agree with that. The health care should pay for behavioral care and physical care equally, yes. Because they have great medication these days, and they could really help people who have a mental health issue. They can really help. The medication helps a lot, and their lives will improve, not just for themselves, but the people within their circle. Most of the people who have a mental illness are pretty intelligent people. You need to be there for them. And if you never had an illness, it could occur that what's going on with the coronavirus can cause you to be anxious and nervous and stressed. You may dial a phone call, talk to someone, and they do have hotlines for people throughout the country to talk to a therapist about their concerns and needs.
And I triple it from 15 to $45 billion a year so that we can pay teachers more, but in addition to that, we can put everybody 3, 4, and 5 years old into school, not daycare, school. And we put in social workers and school psychologists.
Let the children be
They
children
can pick up the early
as much as
signs
possible.
of distress among students. Generation Z, as you know, has the greatest anxiety of any generation in the country. For the first time
On my
in
show,
American history.
I teach exercise class, and I also do rest relaxation just before everyone goes to bed at night, to do some rest and relaxation for 15 minutes so that they could get a good night's sleep. I also do exercise right from the chair. The children can take part in it, as well as the parents and grandparents. That is two ways that I could help to help people cope with what is going on in their environment, the coronavirus, COVID-19.
My life, never seen anything like it other than in war zones or people awaiting hurricanes in places. What do you say to people who are justifiably scared about their futures, about society's future, about what lies ahead?
They are scared, but let me tell you, you and I talked
people, you could invest in some yoga music, relaxing music, and listen to that before you go to bed to calm yourself down. Also, you can listen to the music of yoga at any time of the day. Anytime you feel nervous, anxious, uncomfortable, sit down, relax, and put on some music and just let your mind rest. Don't see anything, don't hear anything. Nice, darkened room, and where you could not be interrupted for at least 20 minutes.
That exist today as we move into recovery, into the health recovery and economic recovery, because it's who we are. We're an incredible
As I mentioned, we're going to have a transition from monetary system to a merit system. And no, I don't want any more people to work more than they have to. 30 to 35 hours, 6-hour shifts, and 4 people have that one job. One person starts at 6 o'clock in the morning, or let's do this, 12 midnight to 6 in the morning they work, they leave, replaced, 6 o'clock to 12 noon, and you're replaced, and then from 12 noon to 6 p.m. you're replaced after doing 6 hours, and at 6 at night till midnight, you're relieved, and there's someone else to do that job. So 5 days a week times 6 hours, that's 30 hours a week. And there are 4 people doing the one job rather than 2 people doing 2 12-hour shifts.
Person that provides the kind of aid people need when they're frightened and scared, and how they can traverse the cancer system, because it's scary when you get that diagnosis. How do you show up for Well, she gave Jill a call. They're working on the following. That is that we have a circumstance now. She talks about how there are women, older men and women home who need chemo. They're afraid to leave the house to go get it. They don't know how to get there. They don't know what they're doing. So they're setting up a network of calling people, reassuring them, finding out what they need, and putting together this entire network nationally so people can reach out and say, it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. And tell us what you need now. See if we can help you now. I mean, it really is. We're going to get through this. We will get through this.
We will get through this. But if you think about it, in our country, we've already been prepared for this over the past 10 years.
Vice President Biden, stay right there. We're going to be back in just a few minutes with more from the Vice President.
Okay.
Just think, people. Just think. You won't have to work 40, 50, 60 hours. You're not going to have to do that. And you'll be able to spend more time with your children. Less stress, calm, relaxing. That's where we're heading. We're heading on to, not so much totally, but the resting, relaxing. And you'll be with farm animals. And we're going to have people work the greenhouses. We'll have vegetables and fruit under the greenhouses. Lots of them. Providing, growing lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers, squash, all those fresh vegetables. We are going to have better food. And this, us, the American people, will be able to feed the rest of the world, because that's what America does. We help people. That's our truth. We help one another. And we are willing to help people in other countries. When I'm president, first phone call is going to go to President Xi, the leader. I'm going to ask him, how can we work together so we can feed your country, so that they too don't have to work all those hours and have a communist type environment. I mean, they're forced to work, but they listen to the government. They listen to the government. And they provide food for themselves. That's why they have exports, so that that money could be used to feed his country, his countrymen. That's why they live the way they do. And they've been in existence for more than 4,000 years. And they've been living, the country been in more than 4,000 years. So they must be doing something right. I'm not talking about us become communism, never, ever, ever. But what happened with China and with the tariffs, China had to take over Hong Kong to turn that into a communism, which was a democracy, and make them not necessarily build, but provide articles for people for the rest to be sold to other countries. And that would bring in money so that President Xi could feed his people. Do you remember all the uprising in Hong Kong, willing to die rather than live under a communist party way of life? They don't want to do that. They had very intense uprisings. What is the chance that it was President Trump who mentioned about tariffs? I will help China to relax, settle down, work together, so that first and most off, that his people are able to have more food to eat, and they don't have to work so many hours. They could have a good life as well. Another thing is, our country is going to be on top, once again, #1. We will make a good comeback after this presidency. My presidency, I be a president, I'm going to make sure the working person gets all that they need. And we're going to have fun. We're going to enjoy ourselves. We're going to be the country of all countries, and they will follow our lead. They will follow our lead again.
And welcome back. We're live with Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden. I want to get to our next viewer question. This is Bob Egan. He's a restaurant owner from New Jersey. He has a question about the economy.
We at the Sunset Pub and Grill in Lincoln Park, New Jersey are feeling the pain, along with our staff and fellow restaurant owners. My question is, big businesses have been bailed out so many times. What more would you have put into this bill if you were president to help the small family-owned restaurants?
Well, number one, you employ about as many people as most of the big businesses do, number one, and more. Number two, this time I thought it was really important they put limitations on the money bailing out big businesses, so they have to focus on the employee, keeping them on the payroll as long as they can, making sure they get compensated, not having allowed to buy back their stock, not benefiting the CEOs and or the stockholders, but the people who work for them. What I would do, and I think we've gotten a long way, the House, Nancy Pelosi's gone a long way, small businesses need help now. And so we have to make sure you're in a position to be able to get the kind of immediate aid that's available to you under this new legislation. And it's about management, how it gets out the door from the federal government, the White House. And that is that you should be in a position that your rent is able to be paid. You're not going to get behind that way. You should be able to keep people on the payroll and get compensated for doing that, as well as the fact that you should be in a position you can reopen again as soon as possible. In addition to getting a $1,200 direct payment, that's not nearly enough for the small businesses. We have to make sure the small business loans that you're going to get and or the no interest loans you get, they're in a position where we're going to say to the banks, you got to get them out the door. As you know, they're not very good at focusing on getting out the door the small business loans. And so if in fact they do not do that, they do not make that their focus, the banks, then I would look to another version of the Defense Production Act to be able to force them to have to do that. That's their first priority. That's going to keep the economy in a better shape than anything else we're doing.
Many European governments are protecting jobs, covering salaries and wages for companies in order to avoid mass layoffs. With the huge number of Americans filing for unemployment, is that something the U.S. government should cover, company payrolls?
Well, I think they should. The companies should, in fact, be in a position of trying to keep people on their payrolls and get compensated for keeping them on their payrolls. And by the way, the idea that we, in fact, are taking care of employees up to a certain point, but we're not taking care of the employees of the larger companies, not the stockholders, not the company CEOs, but the employees, the basic employees, is something I think we're going to have to go back and take a hard look at doing.
I think if the average person increases their money intake, I think it would be able to have a person help the restaurants to keep the cost of the restaurant down. Have some people willing to donate their time and help cleaning the dining room and where the cook is. Other people could go in and work with the cook and learn how to cook and come up with ideas, exchange ideas on how to make the food better or make the menu more appealing to the people. There's ways to keep people in their job, and once people make more money, then they'll be able to tip the people much better. And when you tip a person, don't pay attention to the waiter or waitress's type of work. If they give bad food, don't take away the money for a tip for the waiter or waitress. They say 15%, maybe the tip should be a little bit higher. 18% of the total bill. And then when you measure out the tip in proportion in relation to as the economy increases, the tip rate should increase as well. And all the people who do work and do the work under the table, you may not want to do that because when you turn 60, 65, you may not have Social Security to fall back on to receive when you can no longer work. Don't expect to work right to the last day of life. Now you want to have some time to enjoy your life as you age. And what you put into working all those years, taxes and Social Security, that's there for you. When you become 65 years old, 70 years old, when you're ready to retire, it is there for you to live off of for when you can no longer work. I really am saddened when a 70-year-old person, a woman, is working doing not a very good job, you know, emptying garbage and cleaning up other people's garbage. That's not right. Our grandparents shouldn't be working like that at their age. So everybody, you know, document and record your income and do the taxes every year, because you're going to need that money in the future to live off of when you can no longer work.
Just so you said, rent relief, number one, and direct payments, number two, that aren't loans. But the fact is that beyond that, you're in a situation where, you know, you said that you are...
I had a small business years ago, and all my money that was better that I received and the income that I could live off of, that money that I earned had to be put back into my business rather than keeping it for my own livelihood. I had to put that money back into my business to keep my clients happy, always gifting them. And I wasn't making a profit at all. I had a small business, it was just myself. I couldn't afford, and they're right, everybody's right, small businesses need help. It's like we could all come in and help one another. Maybe an elderly person can be helped with the cleaning in their home, and I think that would be a nice thing. And that
2 minutes to with that on the chip. You have to end it in 2 minutes. The chip's done. You have to end.
so these are some of my ideas and thoughts that I have about our environment, our country. We have to do wonderful things for our people. We are good people. We deserve better than what we are doing right now. I don't want my people working long hours anymore. I want people to be happy in their time.
1 minute, less than a minute.
Okay, I'm going to end this show. We could continue to watch Joe Biden at the town meeting. Thank you for watching with me, and I'm glad I give you an idea what I am going to do for the people of the United States around the world. Thank you.